Spellbreak is honestly just really fun. It's a new free-to-play magic and ability-based battle royale game with full cross-platform support. It feels like Avatar in video game form, which is amazing, but there are also some things that I don't like about it. So let's get into it. Let's run through the basics of Spellbreak first. So you can have two different gauntlets that each have different types of magical abilities. Each gauntlet has a normal attack and a special ability which you can combo with each other. So for example, if you have a toxic gauntlet, you can create a toxic poison cloud. You can freeze it with the ice gauntlet or explode it with the fire gauntlet to do more damage. One fun aspect of Spellbreak is to explore these different combinations. You can even combo off the abilities of other players. So if another player places a tornado, you can light it on fire and make a fire tornado. You choose one gauntlet to start with, and you must stick with that gauntlet for the whole game, but you can level it up. However, you can use whatever second gauntlet you find, whatever second magic type you come across. In addition to picking your starting gauntlet, you can also customize 3 different traits, which allow you to have a build going into the game and allows for some more complex synergies and combinations. You can unlock new traits using your runs by leveling up different types of magic, so there is some cross-game progression in that sense. You also level up within each game as the circle closes, which gives you some new interactions with your abilities on your starting gauntlet. And there are also different runes or movement abilities that you can find throughout your run. These movement abilities, along with your very floaty jump, make Spellbreak an incredibly fluid and movement-focused game. Some runes or movement abilities definitely work better with some gauntlets than others. So for example, the runes that make you fly are much less useful with the stone gauntlet, which requires you to be really close range to hit people. But that exploration and sort of build crafting is part of the fun of Spellbreak, for me anyways. Seeing how these things interact, seeing how you can work your traits with your starting gauntlet, those kind of things. These movement abilities also mean that when you're playing Spellbreak, you'll be flying around and you'll see a bunch of other players flying around at the same time. This can make it a little hard to follow people at first, especially before you learn what all the runes and movement abilities actually do. But as you learn the game, it creates these really fun brawls where everyone's sort of flinging around their magical abilities and just flying all over the place. And that's the part of Spellbreak that I really enjoyed. That's where I had the most fun. But there are also some things that I did not like about Spellbreak. And a lot of that centered around the game being a battle royale only game right now. It does add some interesting new twists to the genre. I mean, obviously it's an ability and magic focused battle royale game, which immediately makes it different from games like Fortnite and Apex. And the trait and class customization is definitely a selling point, though it's not entirely unique to Spellbreak. It also has a lower insta-kill potential, which is something that I liked about Spellbreak, because that can be frustrating when you're learning a new game. And Spellbreak does introduce a unique way of dropping onto the map. So instead of a battle bus or a plane, there are a set number of portals you can choose to drop to on the map. That means that you always run into a player or two really quickly and have some quick fights. And this is actually really important for Spellbreak because I think generally the map is a little too sparse people-wise. There's only 42 people in it, but it's a really large map. So after you have these quick early fights, it just feels like there's a lot of dead time where you're looting and running to the circles until next thing you know, you're at the final brawl with 6 players left in the game. So the game feels like there's some early action, there's a dead middle game, and there's kind of the final brawl, the final fights. And this dead time in the middle is probably the most off-putting part of Spellbreak for me. I will say though, this is hardly a unique problem to Spellbreak. It's kind of a phenomenon present throughout Battle Royale games, and frankly, it's one of the reasons that I'm kind of over the genre as a whole. And really importantly, Spellbreak does have some new game modes coming out eventually that are not Battle Royale. And I'm really excited to see that because the combat and the movement abilities in Spellbreak are really fun. But that Battle Royale format, that dead time in the middle, has really turned me off from the game. Maybe not want to play as much as I would have otherwise. Finally, some more superficial things that I will say about Spellbreak. There are some cosmetics that you can buy since, it is a free-to-play game, but I found them to be pretty lackluster, to be honest. Though, that might always change in the future. You can also unlock some basic cosmetics by leveling up the different classes or the different magical types. Also, I found the map itself to be a little boring. It's a little repetitive. I like the theme, but the map is like 90% castle ruins and the same type of castle too. There are a couple unique areas that I liked, but I would love to see some more map variety as well. I also really like the graphical style as a whole. I think it's kind of unique, but it also sometimes has this weird haze to the game, which is slightly strange. And finally, while there were only squads or trios on release, they do now have duos and solo queues if you're looking for that. So some people have been drawing some comparisons between Spellbreak and Royale, and there are some immediate similarities between the two games. Both of those games have abilities, traits you can customize before the game, different classes, and fighting that doesn't just use guns. So if you're looking for a non-traditional battle royale, well, not quite as non-traditional as Fall Guys, but not quite as traditional as Apex Legends, then both Royale and Spellbreak sort of fit that bill. Royale had one really important mechanic that set it apart from other battle royales, in my opinion, and that was the Forge and the ability to use trash loot. So if you haven't played Royale, which is probably a lot of you, You can destroy all loot that you don't want for gold, which gives you no loot that's useless to you, and you can prevent other players from getting that loot instead. You can then use this gold at these forages on the map to get better items, which also creates sort of hot spots of actions, which is a nice feature. Spellbreak obviously doesn't have this mechanic, so they are really quite different because that big feature of Realm Royale is not present. And while they both have classes, traits, and abilities, they work pretty differently across the two games, so while you can compare them, I don't think they're as similar as they might initially seem. I would definitely say that I've enjoyed my time with Spellbreak more than my time with Realm Royale. The movement just feels more fluid, and the game just has more fun moments. Finally, and potentially most importantly, Spellbreak actually has a player base and dev support, whereas Realm Royale has long queues, games full bots, and no new updates on the way because it's been abandoned by Hi-Rez in favor of other games. So is Spellbreak worth checking out? At the price of free, I would say yes. It brings something a little different to battle royales, and the combat and movement are just incredibly fun. It does have a little bit of a learning curve to understand where people are flying around and how to actually hit your abilities, sort of timing those right. But once you get the basics down, it creates these really enjoyable brawl fights with you flying around and magic flying everywhere. The Battle Royale format has turned me off because there's just so much dead time, the map's a little empty, but this is something that might be fixed in the future with other game modes that are on the way. Please like this video to help me out if you found it enjoyable or informative, and I'll link some more reviews of mine in the description down below. Thanks for watching.